be shooting this video to discuss how to read your monthly owner statements. This video is a quick tutorial. We're going to review a couple statements and show you guys a few things to answer some of the common questions that we've been getting in about reading your monthly statements. You there, Greg?
I am. All right, Dustin. What we're going to do is Dustin's going to ask me some of the common questions that we get in on a monthly basis and want to explain what you're looking at a little bit clearer and make sure that you're having a good understanding of exactly what you're looking at. So what's your first question, Dustin?
Actually, I think our first question is basically just how is the monthly reports laid out? Can you explain that for us?
Sure. As you look at your monthly report, you'll notice that it details out what income you get in, what expenses you've had, and what your running balance is. Basically, this report reads just like your written checkbook register. So what you'll notice is on the very left-hand side, what date the transaction occurred, who was paid for the transaction. There's a reference number, check number, sometimes a credit card notation in the next column to the right, and a description of what the charge or income that you received was. So that is basically how your reports are laid out. So if you can read your own checkbook, you should have no problem with these statements.
Okay, one of the common questions that we get in is how do you know if you're getting any proceeds for the month? Is there anywhere on the statement where you can tell that?
Sure, Dustin. Here's all you need to do. Down towards the lower right-hand corner, you'll notice that there will be an amount, and that is the actual amount that either your check or if you set up ACH direct deposit, the amount that will be drafted into your account. So noticing there, Jane Doe received an owner draw of $1,213 that month. Just to the right of that amount, you'll notice that the number is $500. Again, this is a running balance, and after paying the owner proceed that month, it left $500 in the owner's account. Now, if you'll remember, when you signed your management agreement, you agreed to leave a reserve for repairs in your account, and that $500 is your money, simply that you're leaving basically in your checking account. One thing that seems to trip you all up is just to the left, under the description, where it says owner draw, owner payment for 9/2010. Just to be clear, that does not mean you should have gotten a check on the 9th of this month in 2010. That simply summarizes that this $1,213 payment is the amount of money that you got for the 9th month of 2010. What's the next question, Dustin?
The next question that we have is what happens if the renter pays less than the full amount due?
If the renter pays less than the full amount due, we may not take their payment at all and may return it to them. If it's close to the full amount and they've been a good payer, we will take a partial payment. One thing to note, if there was an outstanding amount due on that person's account, for instance, a late charge that had occurred the prior month that was due, when the income comes in, our system posts to the latest and oldest outstanding amount that has been due. So what our system would do, if the rent was, say, $1,000, it would post $50 if that's the amount of the late charge to the late charge first, and it would show up as late charge income, and then it would post $950 towards rent. You may then look at it thinking that you were shorted $50 on your rent, which in actuality now is true because they paid that outstanding late charge that was due. They still owe you the $50, but it's just reading as paying that oldest charge first.
Okay, great. I have another one here. It says, why don't I see the security deposit on my monthly statement?
Well, you wouldn't see security deposit income on a monthly operating statement because a security deposit is not necessarily your income. It may be after it's dispersed at the end of the term, but for now, it's a liability, and that liability is funded, but that funded liability will not show up on an income statement that you typically will be getting monthly. You can rest assured that we've received that money and that is held in our earnest money account, but it does not show up as income to you.
Okay, one last question is, I see a late charge for an expense on the statement. Can that be right?
Actually, that is correct, Dustin. If you'll remember, back when you signed your management agreement, we had agreed that we're splitting the late charges, so we're getting a little bit more for the effort we put in onto renters that are a little bit harder to collect. In the particular case where you're looking at this right now on this statement, you'll notice that there's an expense of $105. Most of the time, you'll see just above that and to the left in the income column where you would have received $210 of income that came in. In this particular case, you'd need to reflect back to the prior month's statement to see where you got that income that came in, and it just wasn't shared or split until the beginning of that next month.
Okay, one of the questions that we have, and we actually just put up a different statement to help you guys out. Why does the first amount of the money I see say prepaid rent?
Well, what you're looking at is money that has come in with no outstanding charge to post it against. What we do when someone wants to rent your home, we ask them to make a financial commitment. And when they make that financial commitment, we post an amount, typically it's going to be equal to the monthly rental rate, as prepaid rent. There's a legal reason why we do not post that as their deposit because in most states there is a mandated way we are required to handle a security deposit, which differs from the way that we handle prepaid rent. Once the charges begin, that prepaid rent will be applied to the next open rental charge or next oldest charge that's generated by the system. And by the following statement, you'll see that prepayment disappear and applied as either rent or transferred into the security deposit account. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes absolute sense. Okay, I have one more question here, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this video up and give you guys more information on the next video. When my tenant moves out, what happens to the security deposit?
Well, remember that security deposit is not held in your operating account. We're required to keep that money separate from your operations and held in a trust account. Once someone moves out, we will do an inspection, verify if there were any damages, and make decisions and produce paperwork on how that security deposit is due to be dispersed. Once we perform that inspection and create that report, what we will do is transfer the money from that trust account into your operating account. If it was a good tenant that left with no damages, fulfilled their full lease term, and met all other obligations of their contract, you'll then see just to the right of the income that you're seeing here, an expense showing that that money was dispersed back to that renter. In this case, this owner was not fortunate enough to have their renter leave with no damages and did not completely fulfill their lease. So you're only seeing on this report where the full amount of the security deposit was returned to the homeowner. We hope this helps answer some of the general questions. Remember, if you do have questions, we ask that you only email your financial questions to us so that we can accurately and promptly answer any questions while we have your account information up in front of us. We can't really do that when you're calling in because we don't have your information in front of us. So we really ask that you do please follow this procedure so that we can make sure that we're answering any questions that you have in a clear and concise manner. We hope this helps you understand how to better read and interpret your management operating statement, and this should enable you to have a good understanding of your financials. Thanks for taking the time to view our tutorial, and we hope these tips helped. Have a great day.